Steve, one of the most explosive receivers in recent memory, is now a free agent for the very first time. Where will Tyreek Hill land? What is the future of Tyreek Hill? We're going to break it all down right here on 89. Steve, not a shock, right? And I think even if they didn't change general managers, they didn't change coaching staffs, this was most likely going to happen after the season because he carried a $51.1 million cap hit. That's just not really all that doable. So with his release, it cost the Dolphins roughly $28 million as a dead cap and saves them $23 million. Now, he was most likely, we talked about this during the season, Steve, a potential trade at the deadline, but obviously the massive knee injury, and we'll get into it, played a part in that not happening, as now he's on the road to recovery. Your first thought, at 32 years old, he will be on March 1st. The future for Tyreek Hill is what?
Well, naturally, when you're talking about a 31-year-old wide receiver, you assume that he's on the back heel of his career. I don't believe that has been the case for Tyreek Hill. However, the injury that he's just sustained during the season, man, that's a tough one. And the example that I have, I'm not doubting or saying that he can't come back and he won't be a Cheetah. All I'm saying is, as you get older and you have a significant injury, like Tyreek Hill has experienced, it takes a little bit of time for you to get back, right? Great example of that is Tank Dell, current wide receiver, had a stellar rookie season, right? Second year season started to unfold really good. And what happened? Sustained the same type of devastating injury. And when I say the same type, I'm just talking about multiple ligaments and a dislocated kneecap. And what has happened with Tank Dell? He hasn't rushed back. The team is not rushing him back. They don't want to rush him back because they know every little thing that he does in this particular injury has a significant impact on the individual's career for the long haul. So you cannot rush this back. And now you add 30 years old, hell, 29 years old. It doesn't matter the age. What matters really is the significance of the injury and how long will it take for Tyreek Hill to get back healthy, feel like himself before people are actually ready to try out and see. I know he's a hell of a worker. He's going to rehab his ass off. But just because you have the willpower doesn't mean that the ligaments and the scar tissue is operating on the same wavelength that you are, which is a ticking time clock, career time clock. All these things are factored in. And then you add Tyreek Hill is not a guy that you bring in and he helps your receiver core improve. He's an impact player. He goes to a team that can win and needs help now. And the problem with that is he currently is not ready to be available right now. So that's the quandary that these teams are going to have. Those are going to be a lot of discussions that teams are going to have to try to figure out if and when do they bring Tyreek Hill and what's realistic in allowing him to take the amount of time that he needs to be healed, but then also preparing him for the season. I don't think teams, as of today, right now, feel comfortable bringing Tyreek Hill in, signing him to a contract, and then discovering later that he may not be ready for a full year.
Okay. Perfectly said. I think extremely accurate. From talking to people around the league, it's this, Steve. And remember, the information we have on the injury is only from his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, right now.
Yep.
So no medical staffs around the NFL have been able to examine him, and they will throughout this process. So we know it's an ACL. We know it's multiple ligaments. We know there was a dislocation. Again, we don't know the other. Is it MCL? Is it PCL? Is it LCL? What else is included in that other ligaments on top of the ACL?
Here's the thing. The ACL is major, man.
Yes.
The ACL is major because it has so much restriction. You got to break up scar tissue. You want to see a man cry? Watch a man go through ACL rehab when they have to not allow him to bend for a certain amount of times, and then all of a sudden they forcefully. I've seen guys forcefully get their knee bent to break up that scar tissue, and I've seen grown men tear up because it is that painful. It's in the inside of your knee, and you can't outrun it.
You can't
outpaint it. That is part of the rehab that gets tough.
Dude, do you know who had an ACL and scar tissue issue? Meg did. Meg had an ACL, and she was part of a group of about 10% of people.
Meg, your wife. Your wife.
Yep. 10% of people build up extra scar tissue. It's just your body is trying to fix itself, and some people, and so them breaking that for her, she had to have a second procedure to clear out the scar tissue because it was building up so much. So you're exactly right with the way this is happening. Now they do say, this is Drew Rosenhaus again, that there was no blood flow issues with the dislocation, no broken bones. The knee cartilage is fine. From talking to medical people, that's a good sign. But again, we're still essentially early in this, Steve.
Yes.
So what I'm looking for to happen, and this is just some of the buzz around the league, is do not be surprised if at some point when Tyreek is ready, Drew Rosenhaus holds some sort of showcase workout. Definitely. Right?
Sure.
He will build up the buzz.
That's great representation.
Exactly. That's what Drew's great at. Drub up the buzz a little bit, get everybody there, and everybody will go.
Have to.
And have to go and see
why would
what
you
he
not?
can bring to the table.
You get to work out one of the fastest, productive wide receivers in the NFL. I don't care what his age is. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to bring him
because he's defied those things his whole career so far. Yes.
So he comes in and says, hey, I'm doing a workout here. Man, there's regional scouts that's their region. They're like, yo, I'm already in town. So
tell me where.
Easy peasy, let me squeeze it. Let me pull up and go ahead and get my camera out.
Yep,
right? The same way that OBJ did with his interview, and I don't care what people say or believe. He looked great. It was the Underwear Olympics was phenomenal, and it got him signed.
Yeah, I mean, anyway. By the way, working out in shorts, I don't know if anybody profits better than that than OBJ because he's incredible. Like he was one of those guys when I did games all the time, standing on the sideline. Like you can't take your eyes off him working out pregame. It's just unbelievable. I did hear this, Steve. Not sold. Obviously, a lot of people around the league believe he won't be ready for week 1. There are some people that are curious if he plays in 2026 at all. Yeah. And I think I don't think it's unrealistic to think that in the spot we're at right now. The part that I thought was interesting.
Hold on. I think that's extremely important because here's why. Mm-hmm. There is an element that every athlete has where they want to prove everybody wrong, especially when you get an injury late in your career. Mm-hmm. However, what is going to happen, because I've experienced it, is your willpower is great. Man, you'll get up every day. You'll do the rehab. I was rehabbing when I tore my Achilles.
Okay, yeah.
Man, I was rehabbing at 5:30 in the morning. I was going. But some days, bro, when I was feeling it, my Achilles was like, good job. We ain't ready.
Today ain't the day.
And there were times I questioned, was I going to ever come back? Was I ever going to be back to my normal self? That was an internal conversation I had damn near every single day.
How did you get that out? How did you get that out of your head? Like, how do you push those thoughts out?
It took a while. It took a really long time because no matter what I used to tell myself when I would try to do it, it wasn't working. Right? Because when you are stationary in one position for a long period of time to allow healing to happen, bro, there's no mobility. Stiffness kicks in. Scar tissue kicks in. We talk about it a lot on the 89 show when we talk about injuries. When you open up your body, you naturally lose a small but percentage of mobility automatically. And so if you have multiple injuries, multiple tears, that means that they're taking that small area, the knee, and opening up multiple places, even if it's micro, even if it's small, it still now is exposed to air. Your insides now are exposed to the outside, and that can be a problem. Damn lucky he ain't in Cleveland because we all know anytime somebody gets surgery in Cleveland, they damn near lose half their leg on staph infections, man. So, those are the unforeseen things that people think about, especially when you're laying in that bed and you are trying to figure out, man, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
How did this happen? How did I get here?
Yeah.
Right? And then you start replaying back all I did. This is just me. Just my humble opinion. I started replaying back all the passes I dropped. I have always talked about this, and I remember vividly, I was induced because of all the medication. Mm-hmm. I remember waking up at 2 a.m. in my hospital room, just me, the Lord, and myself and I. And man, I got so emotional, I started crying because I started replaying back every single pass I dropped. And you know what I said to myself? If I wouldn't have dropped these passes, bro, and it was like probably, I don't know how many drops I had in my career. You know, somebody can throw it in there in the comments. And I was just going back to, well, if I'd have caught that pass, I wouldn't be here. I'd be able to retire because my goal was to get 1,000 receptions. Mm-hmm. Right, that was one of the things that, like, you know, you got to dangle that carrot, and for me, that was that carrot. I want to get 1,000 receptions because I started to get to a place where it was doable.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why not?
That's right? Great in the back end of the career too, right? It's right there. You keep getting closer.
But I'm sitting in the hospital going, man, I got a double rupture, and they're trying to figure out, you know, at my age, what are you gonna do? How you gonna do it? Guys don't bounce back like they're the same. You hear that, right? Guys don't bounce back when they're younger and they get injured. The hell you think you get older, you just gonna gonna skip the line? Like it's tough.
It is. And this was not a normal injury, right?
No.
I mean, we all watched it happen. We were texting each other. God. I remember when it happened.
Almost.
Yeah, I mean, that's not an exaggeration. That's what it was. And so the other part about this, and let's get into kind of, I want to throw out a couple landing spots that I'm hearing that I'm curious about, and I want to hear what you think. But the contract of it is going to be, I think, fascinating. Are there going to be aspects of the contract to where certain physical aspects need to be passed, right, to get guaranteed money, those type of things? I think that's probably in play here. One thing that happened recently that I did think of, Steve, was Chris Godwin didn't have that in his contract with the Bucs, and he was coming off of an ankle dislocation.
Here's the difference, though, between Chris Godwin and
who's the same team bringing him back. That's part of it. They know him.
That's part of it. The other part is Chris Godwin had leverage. He had another team offering him too. That was the New England Patriots.
So that's the other. You're exactly right, because that's the other part I was thinking. If there's enough teams interested, you know, Drew Rosenhaus is going to be like, no. We got this many teams interested. We don't need guarantees tied to certain medical aspects. We want the guarantees now. And somebody may do it without having it there if there's enough teams interested. I think. But
here's what someone will do it only if they get an opportunity to see him work out.
Yes.
I'm not believing at this at the way.
I'm not talking about sight unseen.
Yes, at the way the league is shaping out, where these guys are getting paid so much money and guaranteed money, teams are willing to pay the guaranteed money and also willing to cut their losses. Right? Mm-hmm. Think about it. $23 million. I think it's $22 million. You said they saved.
$23 million they saved. Yep.
$23 million they saved, but they're willing to take a $22 million cap hit. Tua, they got to eat
cap hit. Yeah.
They got to eat 50, right?
54.
Okay, 54 plus 22. That's $74 million. Mm-hmm. Right? This is the NFL player in me who's had 6.5 contracts, I believe. Okay.
You had a half a contract?
Yeah, I had a half a contract because I left a contract on the table.
Oh, okay. All right.
In retirement.
Gotcha. Okay.
With that much, when you are used to making, especially at the end of your career, you're used to making a certain amount of money. You got to understand veterans. That's why the rookie wage the wage system, wage scale or salary scale has been the way it was is because the NFLPA does a good job, right? They're not perfect, just like the NFL is not perfect, but the NFLPA, I was a former player rep, so I got to see behind the scenes, right? I was a former player rep during lockout. That was bananas.
Yeah. No
Right?
more report cards, by the way, Steve. No more team report cards. They're gone.
No more team report cards. With that being said, when you make a certain amount of money or used to a certain amount of money, and all of a sudden your contract is up, and now teams are going in, you're just gonna make $22 million, right? Or however it's shaped up, and the team comes in, and they say, "Hey, man, I'll give you 5." 5 what? Right? Because here's the thing. Chris Godwin had leverage. He had other people. I'm not sure that the leverage will work with Tyreek Hill unless he has a workout that shows everyone what he's doing, and then teams get to almost salivate over him and say, no, we want him. And that's how you get in a bidding war. I don't think you're going to get into a bidding war and be able to set the table when there's too many variables and question marks. That doesn't have to do with character, anything negative about him. It just has to do with the current subject, which is how significant, how bad, and how would he recover from this injury that he sustained. And it doesn't matter the age, because a slower or a speed reducing Tyreek Hill is still better than some of the snails you got on your current roster right now.
It's 100% true. I still think he has the ability, and I was talking to a coach about this the other day, where he was like, it was so fascinating what he said. We were talking about guys working in zone and whatever, and I was like, well, Tyreek's good at finding space. He was like, no, man, Tyreek just created chaos. With the way he played, and he created space in the way that you would draw something up, and he would just morph all your zones because of the way that he played.
The way he can get, if they put him in motion, when he had to Zach all the way across the motion and get outside, stem outside, straighten up, bang, come across the middle, catch the ball on the fly with Tua anticipating. Man, it was beautiful. You know, he was on pace for almost 2,000 yards. He was still spectacular. Now, obviously, things in Miami have changed dramatically, right? But Tyreek Hill's speed hasn't changed dramatically thus far until he shows us it has. And teams are going to still anticipate and say, hey, we know he sustains the injuries. However, if we could get a glimpse of this, if we can get 5 or 6 plays a game like this, it's worth it, because that let's put this in perspective. If Tyreek Hill was available and on the New England Patriots offense in the Super Bowl and had that kind of speed, how big of a difference would it have been to put pressure on this defense for the Seattle Seahawks in the blitz situation in that?
100% right. And I think he was going to get traded at the deadline.
I'm just throwing out scenarios, right, that are far-fetched. But, hey, these are how teams think. They say, hey, if we got this guy, how are we looking? Right? Right? we looking like we got something. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. I've seen everyone have comments and watch the episode. Got a ton of impressive and inspiring messages from people saying that my sit down with Cam Newton on 4th and 1 was exceptional. It gave me an opportunity to really take ownership on my behavior as an older veteran player, but also it gave a great example of the work that I've been able to do over the years to really understand how my mental health has and will affect me as I get older and then through life altogether. The network that BetterHelp has is up to 30,000 credentialed therapists, and they allow you to work around your schedule. There's not a lot of counselors who do Zoom and also work around your schedule, so you can eat lunch and have a salad and also get your mental health ready and get back to work. BetterHelp is helping a ton of people. It's helped me, and hopefully it'll help you. Visit betterhelp.com/89 to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/89.
So, Steve, I want to get into some teams that could be possible landing spots. By the way, get into the comments. Get into the comments, right?
Yes.
Steve's going to jump in there always. I know you're always reading the comments, by the way. You always text me going, I saw these comments the other. So Steve's in there. So put your teams down, landing spots you'd like to see for Tyreek Hill. And I also want to make this other note. Steve, do you remember we did an episode a week before the injury about where Tyreek Hill was physically, where he was as a player. So if you want to do a deep dive on Tyreek, go back and look at that episode, because there was a part of it, and I remembered that the way Tua was playing, we brought up that was hurting Tyreek a little bit in this last season, because Tua was playing different. They were having to play a different offense a little bit, and we thought Tyreek still was playing at a high level, even though the numbers were a little bit different. All right, so here's some teams here.
I'm writing this down too, so we can come. I'm writing this down so we can come back.
Okay.
When this happens, if you call your shot,
I'm going to mention as many teams as possible then. Okay, yeah. So increase my odds. All right. So I think that you got teams looking for a ring. Teams are looking for like a 1 to 2, I think 2 years of help, hopefully in their wide receiver room, because I know you said age doesn't matter, but at the same time, there is the age there. You're not getting Tyreek for the next 8 years.
Correct. When I say age doesn't matter.
I know what you, in the recovery. And
right, in the recovery part, because it's just such a devastating injury and painful. Like, I don't think age is a major factor at all. I think it is a factor. When you talk about age in the NFL, that's always the case.
True.
Right?
True.
It's always the case. However, it is not the case of it's the sole purpose of, well, he's long in the tooth. He's 31. It's the combination.
Yeah, and he's already been defying what most people believe receivers do at 30 and above. The speed was still there over 30. The movement skills, the quick area stuff, that's all still there. So, okay. So, first team that came to mind was the Chargers. Obviously, his former head coach is there as the offensive coordinator. No. I think they could use some help alongside Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnson. You say no?
I say no.
You say no? Okay.
I say no.
They need help, man. They need help.
They do need help, but here's the thing. Is an offensive coordinator who is a former head coach going to bring in a guy that at times, allegedly, kind of side-eyed him a little bit?
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
And Jim Harbaugh is not going to put the ball up as much as we see Mike McDaniels do as a play caller for the Miami Dolphins.
100%. We're waiting to see what this blend is going to be.
This blend
but
goes
it's still
back.
going to be Jim.
Here's the blend. The blend goes back to when Mike McDaniels was a run coordinator that got him the job in Miami, which he abandoned when he got to Miami with the San Francisco 49ers.
Yep. Right? He's great at designing run concepts.
Oh, my goodness gracious. That's what got him hired.
Yep. Make sure you watch our Marion Hampton episode, by the way, with MJD. Because that's going to be a big part of
the water. So, so that's why I say no on the Chargers.
Okay.
And here's the other part. Ladd is playing in the slot. You still got Quentin. Man, they're going to go with draft picks. I think they want to go a little bit younger because they already had Keenan Allen. That was that worked out pretty decent.
He had a great year, by the way, this past year.
He had a great year. But I think they want to go younger. Okay. And the key word with younger is faster. Right? And faster in regards of winning now.
Yeah. Well, part of me is just like you do, and I think what you're saying is because it's you have a window with these quarterbacks, and they think Justin Herbert's part of that. So I think that's why I kind of. What's your thought? Okay, this is the obvious one, and Stone Cold Jones already tweeted it out. Kansas City. I do know, because I covered that trade very extensively when I was at NFL Network, they left on very good terms. It was mostly about where they needed to put their dollars, which was protecting Patrick Mahomes and putting him up front into that offensive line and putting resources there. They just weren't anywhere near each other in terms of money. You saw the deal he got in Miami, rightfully so. They actually used those picks to flip their franchise, but you could see that being a potential spot, and Brett Veach is one of those guys that will probably make the phone call for sure.
Here's why I say this is a yes. Because it's a year away. If it's a year away, it plays right into it. I don't see Tyreek Hill healthy playing with the Kansas City Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes in the lineup. So while I think this is a long-term play that can work out, and I believe it has a possibility, you got 365 days to work things out, to get on the same accord. Everybody's rehabbing. Who's to say they don't start rehabbing together, right? To get back in the swing of things. If I'm Tyreek Hill, I don't go back to Kansas City without my ace boon coon Patrick Mahomes available and 100%. Yeah. Tyreek Hill is not 100% either. So both of those guys rehabbing and pretty much about 75% of the 2026 upcoming season being pretty much a wash for them playing, I can see that happening. But that'd be a 20.
Do you see Pat missing 75% of this season? Ooh, I don't know about that.
I don't know about it either, but here's the thing. You don't rush it. He's had so many close calls that totally. I think you just don't rush it.
You don't rush the unicorns, man. You don't want anything to happen. Okay. All right. How about, and this one, they've done it before in almost the exact same situation. Do you remember when they were going through a Lamar Jackson negotiation? And what did they do to kind of sweeten it? They were like, well, we're signing OBJ. And then the deal got done. Did you see the Ravens looking for him to go opposite of Zay Flowers possibly, as they're kind of also in a Super Bowl window with Lamar Jackson? Do you see Baltimore being an option?
I don't think so with Jesse Minter, and I think
Still the same GM.
I know who the GM is. Yeah, Eric DeCosta. Shout out to E.
Yeah.
I don't see them doing that just because I can see them drafting someone, right? I can see them drafting a guy like Mekhi Lemon, right?
Ooh.
That's a guy who's primarily in the slot. So because of that, if you got Zay, you got Lemon, right? What they do is Isaiah Likely, right? Who has started to show early on, but then now he's kind of he sustained some injuries. Of course, I understand he wasn't consistent because he wasn't available. That's not my problem. If you do not play and because you're injured, they have this saying, you can't make the club in the tub. That's not my fault. I'm just reading information.
That's fine. What I'm saying, and my pushback to what you're saying on the Ravens is,
push me back.
How many times have the Ravens done this? They did it with Odell Beckham Jr.
I don't think
they did it with DeAndre
Hopkins.
They did it with Anquan Boldin. They did it with Jeremy Maclin. They did it with
and all these
They did it with Steve Smith.
Yes,
they did it with a lot of guys.
All these guys were available to play today.
That's true.
Right? I'm not saying it's a bad pick or it's not going to happen. I don't think it's happening now. I don't think it's happening when free agency begins in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Well, I don't think anybody's jumping at this at the beginning of free agency either. Okay. So there's a part of that. I do think these teams are, and we're doing this early, these teams are going to have the benefit of who did they get in the draft or not by the time that they can maybe have this conversation with
forward, right? I'm just throwing it out there. You throwing out teams, and I'm just spitballing away on why I think that's a great idea, or I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't see it that way.
Okay. The Buffalo Bills.
For a guy who's got in trouble a little bit from Brandon Beane, I don't have anything to say about that. I'm going to let that be. But I will think they would be drafting someone and getting someone in free agency.
I think they will too. And I would think that they would. And I think we're also looking at
Shout out to Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane being my text message.
Tremendous embrace that you guys had on the sideline the other day when we were there on the field together, Steve. I would just say this. I do think, and that's why I'm missing some of these teams, these are teams that do have a tendency to try to find that piece to push them over the hump. They've done it specifically with pass rushers the last couple of years, whether it's Von Miller or Joey Bosa. Beane does like to see, hey, can we get a blue chipper towards the end to try to push us over the hump?
But Von Miller kind of showed you a little bit.
Neither one of them two actually have.
Joey Bosa was he was very productive.
Decent year.
Yeah. I thought he was extremely productive and showed up in times that you thought he wouldn't be available. I'm not sure with Josh Allen and the way this team is positioned and looked at as win now, and you have a guy who may not be available till December.
Yeah.
Right?
Very true.
And I don't care how smart someone is, you can know all the plays, you can memorize them, you could be doing all of the situational football. But man, if you got injured and you are trying to run routes, there's gonna be a little hesitation in your giddy up.
Oh yeah.
And you don't want that hesitation to and doubt to peak in the middle of the football game. Because I've been that guy who's run some routes on a hamstring or on some shakiness, and bro, it's a crazy mind trick.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot for him to overcome. I have two more. Seattle, an opposite of JSN. I'm not sure if Cooper Kupp will be in the future.
Really? You don't think so?
Well, I mean, I don't know how much longer Cooper Kupp's going to play, in all honesty.
Yeah.
And he was very listen, I'm not devaluing. I think he was very valuable to their offense in the role that he played. And then Pittsburgh.
I can see Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I definitely could see Pittsburgh. I don't know about Seattle. They got some young guys that they really like.
That's your boy from CSU, man.
Yeah, and I just think that will stunt their growth, right?
Okay.
Some of those guys weren't available because of injury, so now you're gonna bring Tyreek in, and he's gonna practice, which means he may not be available, but when he starts practicing, that's taking key reps away from your young guys that you need to step up and develop, right? Especially you got a new offensive coordinator, right? We all know new offensive coordinators. Whether you keep the same system or not, there's always a learning curve. There's always something that it does not go as smoothly as you want, and it works itself out throughout the season.
Mm-hmm. Totally true. All right, so where do you want you don't like most of these landing spots?
No, I like the Kansas City. I just my biggest thing has to do with I'm not going to sit here and say this man is a year out from being back to 100%. But I'm not going to say in 6 months, right? He's going to be back to full strength and running like nothing ever happened.
The Cheetah.
I'm not sure that you can say that based off one other guy's injury, right? Look, Tank Dell have you seen this?
I saw the video.
Saw the video?
Mm-hmm.
And them tattoos are covering up a lot of scars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I was at that game. That was...
Oh, man. Turned my stomach.
Yeah, that was
right?
awful.
You don't repair your leg like that and not have some kind of little bit of delay reaction or response that no one saw once everything starts to settle. Yeah. And the surgery and the scar tissue and the fluid, all that stuff, man. And you got you have a lower leg injury or middle leg injury that's furthest from your heart. Mm-hmm. Takes a little bit longer to heal.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch. I'll just say because this type of player, and we've had this conversation, he doesn't come around very often, Steve.
Nope.
Right? That type of skill set that he has. So teams are going to be interested. Teams are going to be curious about the timetable. The fit is going to be important. There's a lot of things that come with Tyreek.
True.
And so, how does it work? But I do think somebody is going to be like, this pushes us over the hump. This adds to our room. It's another option for probably what we have as one of the better quarterbacks in football. How do we do this? So, Steve, this is just the tip of the iceberg on our free agent wide receiver talk, by the way. We're going to be breaking down a lot of these guys. There's some interesting candidates out there. You and I were on the phone about Alec Pierce the other day, talking about him. Does he wind up back in Indy? They jump and re-sign him, or is he going to be available? I know teams like him a lot.
Teams are already looking at him. Teams were looking at Alex Pierce back in December.
100%.
Man, back in December, these teams are looking at free agencies of target. The targets are based on salary cap availability, right? That's why the Miami Dolphins, they have to figure out, they got to bring in some teams.
They're remaking a whole roster, man.
Yeah, they got to bring in some players too that they feel that can impact their team, right? Elevate their roster, But then at the same time, can I get him on the low? Right? So that's a part that's going to be difficult.
Yeah, we're breaking out a lot of these free agent wide receivers, so make sure you always tune back in. Fresh videos dropping all the time.